Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hi friends, we are back today with our wonderful book Living Spring, and it is by Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. Today again we have a beautiful message, and I think all spirited messages are extremely important because it is a revelation for every one of us. So to look into ourselves, and it is a kind of love because this is the love that the good spirit brings to us in helping us on earth. And today, again, we are at chapter 46. But before we begin, let's just breathe. When you listen to this, if you are driving or if you're at home, take just 5 minutes to concentrate on listening, because it's quite important for us to take this break now and then to listen to the teachings, which is amazing for us. It keeps us positive, it keeps us focused on the good, and especially through Kodak Radio, who brings us so many episodes and so many things so that we can concentrate on the good things, so that we can emit positivity, hope, and faith, and also to help us to renew ourselves constantly. And then we can admit great things. Then we can admit peace. Then we can be positive enough to also serve and help others. So let's take a deep breath and relax and concentrate on listening, mindful listening. We are at chapter 46, and it is titled On the Cross. He saved others but could not save himself. And it's in Matthew 27, verse 22. Yes, he had redeemed many. He had spread love and truth, peace and light. He had healed the sick and had resurrected the dead. Nevertheless, he himself had been lifted up on a cross between thieves. In fact, for someone who had been praised so much, who had reached the pinnacle, indirectly suggesting his um, status as Redeemer and King, the fall was enormous. He was the Prince of Peace. He was defeated by the war of inferior interests. He was the Savior, yet did not save himself. He was the Just One, yet suffered the ultimate injustice. There hung the Lord, flogged and defeated. According to human consensus, it was the ultimate loss. He had fallen on the cross. He was bleeding, but upright. He was tortured, but his arms were outstretched. He was regulated to suffering, but suspended from the earth. Surrounded by hatred and sarcasm, he kept his heart filled with love. He had fallen, vilified and forgotten, but on other days he transformed his suffering. But on another day he transformed his suffering into divine glory. His head had hung down, covered in blood on the cross, yet he arose in a garden in the light of the sun. The dark defeat was transformed into resplendent victory. The offensive wood was covered with heavenly light. for the whole earth. Such is the case in our own lives. Do not stumble on the easy triumph or the cheap halo of crucifiers. Every time circumstances compel you to change course in your life, take the way of self-sacrifice, transforming your pain into benefit for many. Because all those who accept the cross on behalf of their brothers and sisters find the way to resurrectional, eternal, way to resurrectional, resurrection eternal. What a beautiful chapter. And this chapter reminds us that Jesus he didn't have any selfish motives. He came and he worked for others. And then the first question that we can ask ourselves, and Emmanuel is asking us this, to help our brothers and sisters, to help each other carry our crosses, which means to be of service. So on the cross, beloved, are we on the cross? Are we helping one another make life a bit better? Or are we selfish? Because we need to redeem ourselves. We need to let go of all things for ourselves. And we have to focus, like Jesus was focused on others, not to be expected to be glorified, to be called the King. Because, as Emmanuel explained, this is what they did with Jesus. Because somehow they could feel God through him. But then they fell into this, how can we say, this earthly things, and seeing things as bad. And he was crucified. And we know that this was the way that it was supposed to be. This was supposed to happen so that we can understand better. And as Emmanuel explains that even on the cross, resurrected from the earth, not part of the earth, with arms wide open, he was loving. He was loving and kind and forgiving. And then, can we ask ourselves this? Are we forgiving? If we go through trials, if there is someone maybe not understanding and maybe telling stories about you or talking bad about you, are you forgiving? Are you praying? Or are we reacting? Because Jesus never reacted to anything that was said about him. He only blessed. So are we reacting or are we blessing? And can we be like Jesus, not cursing but blessing, sending love, asking God for understanding because they do not know what they are doing? And if we can do this, if we can help one another, regardless, because now is the time to help each other carry our crosses, to have an ear to listen, and sometimes just giving a hug, sometimes just sending a message. There are so many ways that we can help one another that just make this burden a bit better. Giving a word, a positive word, helping one another sing maybe a song. There are many ways that we can help one another focus on the good. And that is all that we need. We need to help one another be positive, and to focus on the good. And then this is how we bear each other's crosses, in a way of understanding, to understand that everyone's perception about things may be different than yours and mine. Our perception sometimes about one thing is not the same, but to let every soul walk the road to their own evolution. And this is where we don't judge. We use our thoughts to pray. The other day, the mentors taught me that if we want to practice not having judgment, to be forgiving, not to have an opinion and accept everything that is happening around us, in a way that we focus only on the good in everyone and in all things. And to not judge people's actions. We should pray, rather pray for them to be awakened to see. And if we go through our Facebook pages and all these things that we look up at constantly, how many times in what we see are we judgmental about right and wrong, don't like this, do that, don't like that? How many times and what are the feelings that are evoked in yourself? And this is things that we should be mindful of, because this is where we sometimes unconsciously are judging. And what energy are we then giving out? And we should always, and this is a great way to look at ourselves, and this is a great opportunity to pray. If there is a thought, if there is news, or whatever comes your way, if it's not good news, just pray about it. And this is helping that person that maybe is also suffering, which we are judging for whatever actions they are doing. This is helping them carry the cross. Because we can either be helpful in sending good vibration to them, or we can be part of those obsessors that are obsessing them with negativity, and it makes it so much harder for them on this road to wake up to what is wrong and what is right. So on the cross, beloved friends, we can ask ourselves, are we on the cross? Are we walking this path of the good news regardless of what is happening around us? Are we focused on the good in everything around us? And are we at peace with the plan of God? Because if we can do that, then we are helping. We are helping, and always keep Jesus as our master, as a great example for us to follow, because he is our great example. And now, in these trying times on earth, we can feel his presence. We can truly feel his presence on earth. And how many times a day do we sit and feel the presence of our benefactors and of Jesus and of God, so that we can get familiar with this feeling of peace in us. And it's a great exercise for us to practice, to just feel and just be, sometimes without thinking. This is why meditation is a great exercise for us, because it helps us calm our minds, the energy in our minds that are constantly busy, so that we can be open. And this is how we then can be inspired to by our benefactors and by our spiritual guides, so that we can focus on the good. I thank you so much for joining me again, and thanks so much to Garlic Radio that bless us every day. Friends, have a wonderful day. Until we see each other again, God bless.